Hello, everyone. I'm Rev Brad. This is the Soccer Chaplains United podcast from the Touchline. It's the month of July, and we're 2 years away from the World Cup, which means there's a lot of soccer between the Euros, Copa America, and much, much more. Well, this month I wanted to make the pod a little different, like a halftime talk that a coach gives to the team. As chaplain, I'm just going to drop a truth bomb or some golden nugget of wisdom and try to make our time together tight, short, and sweet. So with the first half of the season whistle being blown and with the clock ticking down, let's get it sorted quickly. We start right after this.
He's found the space and he's found the back of the net.
Just a little off foot, thinking he's going to go far post. Not strong enough with his right hand.
Whips that one in. Far post, almost made him enter. They have. He has the hat-trick. The second in his career. The third of the night, the hat-trick hero.
Talked about you're not going to be able to sustain that kind of pressure.
To the corner, goes towards the near post, and you're the angle, and what a goal!
So one of the headlines that is seemingly fusing with football right now is the issue of politics. France, England, and the US, just to name some of the major world powers that I'm more familiar with, are all on the cusp of political change, and there's lots of division and anxiety amongst the people. Well, last month, Kylian Mbappe urged young French voters to get out and vote. He expressed a sort of political solidarity with his teammate Marcus Thuram, who was more vocal about his own political allegiances. Similarly, in England, there's been a massive change in the landscape of political leadership recently, and athletes like Marcus Rashford, Raheem Sterling, Tyrone Mings, and others have been at the fore of this so-called activist superplayer movement. These are players who really utilize and capitalize their influence in soccer to highlight and bring awareness to social and political and mental health kinds of issues. Here in the U.S., our own upcoming presidential elections in November are creating similar kinds of moments and movements that we're seeing around the rest of the world. Well, it all begs the question of whether or not people in football ought to use the platform of the beautiful game for the promotion and proclamation of particular political beliefs. Now let's get a few things out of the way of our conversation here. Without a doubt, corruption happens in football these days. In other words, the beautiful game is not some pure and innocent thing. We also see that sports in general, and soccer or football specifically, are usually used, we might even say hijacked sometimes, by different groups that want to espouse a particular value or belief. Whether it's fans in the stands waving flags or someone holding up a sign or people chanting songs, there's a plethora of moments where ideologies, good and bad, abound. But what about the footballer? What about the coach or manager, those intimately involved in the game? What place does politics have? Well, I think this is an issue that can cause a lot of stress and tension. In fact, it's been an issue that we've dealt with as chaplains as we help people in the game, in the sport, deal with these different things. And people in football might wonder, what is appropriate? What is the balance for political or ideological advocacy in my role, in my place in the game of soccer? So I want to offer some hopefully helpful reflection and wisdom right here. Mbappe, as the Euros were beginning, said this in an interview, in an article. He said, "I think we're at a crucial moment in our country's history. You have to know where things stand and have a sense of priorities. The European Championship has a very important place in our careers, but I think we're citizens above all. And I don't think we should be disconnected from the world around us, or even less so when it concerns our country." These seemingly wise words from a young 25-year-old footballer and his subsequent calls for the young people of France to involve themselves in the upcoming elections, I think is worth a look at. First, Mbappe is right about speaking about prioritizing the place of football. Whether it's the European Championship or the World Cup, the Copa America, or other things, the league, maybe a cup trophy or title in your neck of the woods, there are things in this life, in this world, that are more important than the game of soccer, than the game of football. Secondly, Mbappe references citizenship. Football's tricky. Our club teams have members of, quote, all tribes, tongues, and nations, to borrow a phrase. This is part of the beauty and the burden for club football. The diversity often of the locker room is a beautiful, yet it can be a difficult thing. Even amongst my own club team, there are athletes that stand with hand over heart for the U.S. national anthem before a match, while others remained respectfully still, facing just the crowd. Even amongst national teams, there are athletes who might have multiple citizenship claims because their family, whether it's their parents or grandparents, maybe have a story of migration or immigration. Well, for Christians in soccer, we have a dual citizenship to speak of. We have a heavenly citizenship. The author of Hebrews captures it in chapter 11, verses 13 through 16. Let me quickly share that with you. All these people were still living by faith when they died. They did not receive the things promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance, admitting that they were foreigners and strangers on earth. People who say such things show that they are looking for a country of their own. If they had been thinking of the country they had left, they would have had opportunity to return. Instead, they were longing for a better country, a heavenly one. Let me read that last part again. Instead, they were longing for a better country, a heavenly one. My friends, as the clock ticks down on our time today, here's my offering. There are more important things in this world than football that deserve our thought and consideration. But we must not forget that our citizenship as Christians in football ultimately rests and resides in heaven, not on this earth. And the Bible's replete with language and teaching and instruction that encourages us, yes, to seek the good of where we live. And yes, to work toward peace. And yes, to be submissive to the authorities that God has placed in governance over us. But all of this has to keep in mind that ultimately our citizenship is for a different country, a heavenly one. And that can help us understand an appropriate place for the platforms we possess and the politics we promote or the politics that we don't promote. Well, this is Rev Brad coming to you from the Touchline.